الله
سعيد
يحييك.
تسمعني.
اسمعكم حياك الله اخوي رامز.
شرفتنا ونورتنا، نشكرك على توفير جزء من وقتك الثمين لنا. تقدر تعرفنا عن نفسك اكثر؟
اولا اشكر الاخوان في نادي الهندسه الميكانيكيه انهم اتاحوا لي الفرصه هذه، و very happy to rejoin with KFUPM in any way possible. Before we start, I would like really to congratulate all of you, the mechanical engineers and or the mechanical engineering students in KFUPM. So far, you guys have made it a big achievement by being in KFUPM, first of all, and being as a mechanical engineer, secondly. It happened to be that this year my son just graduated from the high school, and I am aware of how difficult it is to get into KFUPM, and how it is even more difficult to get into the mechanical engineering. If you are not aware, I think this year the required percentage, a cumulative or combined percentage, was 95% in order to get in to a KFUPM and to the engineering college in general. So since being there, I think it's already an achievement you guys are making, and I hope you will be going through it, and we will enjoy this 1 hour and a half, inshallah, with you, and we'll make it a casual discussion with a graduate just like you. The only thing is, this was 24 years back.
يعطيك العافية. الله يعطيك العافية. طيب، قبل لا نستعرض محاور اللقاء، حاب أنوه أننا سنفتح باب الأسئلة المباشرة للضيف في آخر اللقاء. في حال كان لديك سؤال للضيف، تفضل طرحه عبر الرابط في الشات. موجود الرابط في الشات الآن. طيب، إن شاء الله اليوم حيكون عندنا 6 محاور. المحور الأول، أول شيء أستاذ سعيد، أرحب فيك مرة ثانية، ونبدأ بالمحور الأول، أول محاور اللقاء. أستاذ سعيد، ما الذي يواجه الطالب بعد التخرج، طالب الهندسة الميكانيكية تحديدا؟
Okay. طبعا it's good to start with a story, huh? I remember when I was in the last semester in the university, we used to have an Algerian instructor. كنت أقول للدكتور، قلت خلاص باقي لنا الترم هذا إن شاء الله ونتخرج ونرتاح. I still remember him laughing نتخرج ونرتاح. And now after 24 years, I can see this. The real challenges starts after the graduation, and it starts with finding the right job that suits your dreams. Just to answer the question of what is waiting for you is the whole life is waiting for you. This time that you are spending in the university is just trying to equip you with the right tools and capability and skills. But the whole life is ahead of you guys. So the biggest challenge will be finding the right job. And it's not always easy, huh? Especially in nowadays. But I think with you picking up the right major, which is a mechanical engineering, your chances is much more than any other major I could think of. We hope you all the best إن شاء الله. الطريق قدامكم طويل يا شباب. This is just a starting point. maybe if Ramaz, if you allow, I could talk about when I first graduated. How was the situation?
تفضل.
طيب. And I remember when I graduated, and this was back in 1997. It was not easy just to go directly to SABIC or Aramco or Skico, one of those big organizations. So the norm at that time was to apply to those government sectors, الوزارات, يعني الوظائف اللي easier to get, especially when you have an engineering degree and from KFUPM. So what I did is I dropped a file in SABIC and Aramco and Skico, expecting that you will not be finding a job soon, which was the norm at that time. So I flew to Riyadh and I applied for those government jobs. Ironically, I immediately get an offers from an organization which is, at that time, I was wondering why they need a mechanical engineer. I remember I get a job from وزارة الإعلام, which is very strange. Why you need a mechanical engineer in وزارة الإعلام? And then I found another job from وزارة العدل and a third job from وزارة الصناعة والكهرباء. So obviously اخترت يعني وزارة الصناعة والكهرباء بحكم انها يعني أقرب للتخصص. I thought that where I will be finding where I can apply the things that I learned in my major as a mechanical engineer. I was with one of my friends who's from Riyadh, and he told me, why you go to وزارة الصناعة? Huh? Why you don't just go to وزارة الإعلام? At least you will be having a free magazine every morning. And the location of the ministry is located in the center of the city. You don't need to go to, it was in a better location than. So there is always a different way of how the people look at the things. Huh? And meanwhile, as I told you that I have thrown my file in a couple of companies. So while I was in the process of doing the medical checkup and those things to join one of those offered jobs to me at that time, I received a call from Bechtel Engineering, which is located in Khobar. I don't know if many of you know this company, because at that time, even myself, I had no clue about Bechtel Engineering. Then they called me and they told me, you have an interview. I remember I was still in Riyadh. Then I flew back to Al-Khobar and I had an interview with them. And this was only 1 week after my graduation. And I was lucky and they have accepted me. So within 1 week, I was already having a job title as a mechanical engineer in a Bechtel engineering company, which is, at that time, I have no clue what is Bechtel is about. And then down the road, I found out that Bechtel is one of the biggest engineering companies in the world. And I was wondering how come that we don't know much about it. So I was the only Saudi in that company as an engineer. The rest of the engineers, they were Western engineers, Americans, British, South Africans, Indians, and they were highly skilled and highly experienced individuals. And I was really lucky to start my career with a company like Bechtel Engineering. And for those of you who doesn't know Bechtel, I remember when the kingdom was celebrating the 100 years. This was, I think, in 1999. Bechtel was celebrating a 100 year in 1998. So it is one ahead of the kingdom. So it is a company that been there for for the last 100 years. And they have offices all over the world. They have in the Middle East, they have in America, they have in Europe, they have in Asia. And it is a family, it's a family company, huh? So it's a generations. For those of you who is watching the National Day documentaries when King Faisal was walking with one American guy, that guy was a Bechtel, from Bechtel family. So he was the father of the guy who was the CEO at the time then when I joined. If we look at Bechtel and what was their project in Kingdom, Bechtel, they were the founder of Jebel City, where I'm working now. The whole Jebel Industrial City was one of Bechtel projects. Also, King Fahd International Airport, and I'm sure that all of you guys have flown through that airport. This was one of Bechtel projects. King Khalid International Airport also was another project for Bechtel. The railway from Dammam to Riyadh also was one of their projects. The highway from Riyadh all the way to Mecca, also that was also another one of their projects. So if you look at the infrastructure of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Bechtel was a major player. So when I joined them, and again, Bechtel is a very huge, even here in the Kingdom. I was lucky again that I joined the most sensitive department on that engineering firm, which is the process mechanical department. Basically, the process mechanical department it is the heart of any project. So all of those projects that Bechtel is working on it, this department, it's the heart of it. So basically, we are the one who is sitting with the client, and mainly at that time, our most important client was Saudi Aramco. And one of the major projects that we were working on it was Shaber project. At that time, I was still in the engineering phase. We had also another big project, which is Ras Tanura refinery expansion project. It was basically an expansion for the refinery itself, because at that time it was already 50 plus years old. So they were renewing part of the old ones, and they were expanding new parts within the refinery. So in this department, and if you take a note of the name of this department, it's called Process Mechanical. And the head of this organization or this department was a British guy. He's almost 70 years old, and I found out later on that he was not really a Bechtel employee. He was taken from Shell company, which is again a great company in the oil refining and petrochemical industry. So this guy was really a big thing in his time. So he was the head of the department, and he was really in a position that even the CEO of Bechtel at that time, and I respect him a lot, and nobody can talk to him because they need him because of his experience, and he was really a big thing for the organization. Ironically, I was still young at that time. I had a clash with him from the first week. I remember he asked me to write an email and send it to our office in Jeddah. We were having also another project in Jeddah refinery, again, a renovation of Jeddah refinery at that time. So we had a problem with the way we write up the email. I write it in a certain way, and then he made his correction. It was in a piece of paper. I went back to my office and I made the correction as he instructed me. Then I went back to him, and again, he didn't like it, and he started shouting out. And just without thinking, I just threw the piece of paper on his face, and I told him, "You write it your way." Then I left the office. After this incident, for somehow, we became very close friends, me and this guy. I still remember his name is Bob. So he became like my mentor. Huh? So he started guiding me throughout my journey in Bechtel. I stayed in Bechtel for 2 years. Then he designed a development program for me. He said, I want you to go to the AutoCAD section. We had a section within the organization. Their role was only to draw the P&IDs, which is a short for piping and instrumentation diagram, which is basically the product that an engineering company will be producing. So at that time, I didn't know why he was sending me to this AutoCAD, which is basically a draftsman. Told him I'm an engineer. He wants me to stay here with those Filipinos to draw an AutoCAD drawings. I understand afterward why he sent me to this location. I stayed there for 3 months, and I've learned a lot in those 3 months. But by drawing the AutoCAD, and at that time they used to call it a microstation. In the microstation, you will be coming to draw the heat exchanger, you'll draw the pump, you'll draw the valve, you'll draw, and when you are putting a valve, the system will give you to choose which type of valve you want to put here, which type of heat exchanger you want to put here, which type of pump. When you are routing a pipe, what is the material of that pipe? What is the schedule of that pipe? All of those things were things not known to me at that time. So after the 3 months, I came out knowing a lot of things about the industry in general. Then after that, he said, okay, now you go back to your department, and I want you to start doing a calculation. So we have, let's say, our client Aramco, they have a certain process, and they need to drop the temperature from, let's say, 250, they need to drop it to 100 degrees C. So what is required from you is to design a heat exchanger that can bring down the temperature from the 250 to 100 degrees C. So I just graduated 1 week back from the university. I still have everything fresh in my mind. So I start doing the calculation using the normal equations, and I spend a hell of time in order to do those calculations. And you end up by writing like a booklet of a manual calculation. And I go to him, he starts challenging me, and until with the time, by the end of the 6 months, he starts trusting the thing that I'm delivering on the table. After the 6 months, he showed me that whatever I was doing for the last 6 months, they already have state-of-art softwares that can do all of those things to you. But the guy, he really, he wanted me to learn. He said, if I show you this on the first day, you wouldn't learn much. So I really appreciated that. And then we start drawing the piping and instrumentation diagram. You sketch it in a pencil. Then I go to the CADing section that I spent 3 months, and I ask the guys, please draw this P&IDs for me. They come and I do my corrections. And proudly, I do have a P&IDs, which is today in Ras Tanura Refinery. And if you look at the bottom right corner of that P&ID, you will find my name in there, designed by Saeed al-Somali or Saeed Harsi. So really, this is make me feel proud that at least I translated my engineering that I have studied to something that's been built on the ground. Then after the P&ID, this is just a stage of the engineering cycle. So he said, now, after you have designed those heat exchangers, designed those pumps, I need you now to go and buy it. So buying, again, I thought this is a procurement job, and I'm an engineer, why I have to bother about buying an equipment? But really, when he's saying buying, the buyer is just a facilitator for you. The guy who will make the final say is you as an engineer. You are the one who's deciding which pump to buy and which pump not to buy. And that is basically according to a certain specifications that you have put it in your design. So when you say, I need a pump that makes a flow rate of this much, or I need a heat exchanger that is that type. Is it a shell and tube heat exchanger? Is it plate heat exchanger? And then you make those specifications, you give it to the buyer will float it to all the manufacturers around the world, and they had very powerful systems in the procurement. So everything will come back to you, and it is you who will make the decision and decide from which manufacturer you will buy the equipment. So we used to have a kind of a table where we are listing down all the manufacturers that we have received a bidding from them, and you will rank them from the best to the lowest. Then you go and you take it to the department head, who is Mr. Bob. He will evaluate and he will challenge you. Why did you put this as a first, and why you put this as a last? Sometimes you could have a very good equipment, a very good manufacturer, but the time it takes for him to deliver is beyond your project timetable. So you will be eliminating that because of the time only, not because it's a bad manufacturer. So end of the day, your decision is what's going to be implemented down there in the procurement section. So I spent there maybe another 6 months, every day doing a technical evaluation for all of those things that were part of the design of it. Then after we finished that, then I was wondering what's next. And he said, now, and all of this was in our Bechtel engineering office in Al-Khabar. So I was not on the field. So he says, now it's the time for you to go and see in reality the things that you have designed and the things that you have bought, and you do installation on the site and you do commissioning and startup. So he said, okay, now you need to move to Ras Tanura, where the refinery is. So we came to a camp in the middle of the desert. And I remember when I went there first day, in Bechtel, as I told you, they were, all of the staff, they were Westerns, basically Americans and British. So they had a camp for the Westerns and another camp for the non-Western people. So it was the first time for them a Saudi engineer comes. So I remember that the foreman of the camp, he said he was having a problem to put me in the Western camp. So he called back to Al-Khabar office, and Mr. Bob answered him, said, what's your problem? Why don't put him in the senior camp? The guy is an engineer and he's a senior engineer. Why don't put him there with the other engineers? Then I went inside, and again, guys, this is casual, huh? So don't quote me on this. Huh? So when I went the first day there, and our working time was from 6 in the morning till 6 p.m. Huh? So imagine after 12 long working hours, when you come back to your room, we used to have a canteen there. I went and I had my dinner. Then I found one portable. It's not a fancy building, it's just a portable building. So I went and I see a portable building written on it, Gentlemen's Club. So I thought it's just like the common rooms that we used to have in KFUPM. I don't know if those common rooms are still there. So in every building, we used to have a common room where there is a TV. And when I went there, I found that it's kind of, there was alcohol in the place. And then I understand why the Indian guy was having a problem to allow Saudi guys to go inside. But anyway, the good side of the story, I was having a chance to participate in the commissioning of all of those equipment. So we went to the field, and when we go to the field, you will find there all the manufacturers in the world. You'll find the Italians, you'll find the German, you'll find the British, you'll find all kinds of nationality you can think of. And there is a team from GE, there is a team from Nuevi Binioni, which is one of the biggest compressors manufacturers. And you will be amazed about the amount of experience you will gain in the field. and you will start seeing the problems when they start. When you finish the installation and you start the machine, you will start experiencing problems. This machine is vibrating, this machine is having high temperature, and it is your role to figure out why, what's wrong here. So really I spent, I don't remember how many months it was, but I can tell you this. Every day I spent in Ras Tanura was a hell of experience that I gained. So that was my starting as a fresh graduate. So after the 2 years, Ramiz, I don't want to hijack your timing, so you need to stop me, otherwise I will keep telling the story until the morning.
والله ودنا انك ما تخلص اصلا. لا تفضل، ما عندك مشكله، كمل. او انت فعلا اصلا مريت على المحاور اللقاء كلها يعني السته.
Yeah. So this was one side of what you shall expect as a graduate. So all of this story that I was telling you guys, this was just in an engineering company. Yeah? Engineering company, it's totally different from operation and maintenance company, which is where I moved forward. After I left, after the 2 years, I said, okay, Bechtel is a good place to gain experience and knowledge. And I used to have one of my colleagues, he was my roommate, and sometimes when we were in the university, so he came to my office in Bechtel and he said, there is a job opportunities in Riyadh in Saudi electricity company. So I want you to join me so we go there and apply for a job. I told him I'm enjoying here. I'm not interested to move anywhere else. And he was keep insisting that this is Bechtel is a foreigner company and there is no future for you here. I told him, but really I'm enjoying every day that I'm spending here. And it was really true. I was enjoying it. And as I told you, we were working for 60 hours. Huh? The normal working hours that you'll find in the market today is 40 working hours. We were working 60 hours. 60 hours means 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. So that's the 60 hours that I was doing. And believe me, guys, I was not feeling that it is 6 o'clock in the evening until I hear the other engineers walking in the corridor, going home. So really, I was enjoying the engineering that I was doing, the calculation, the going to the field, experiencing whatever you have designed, seeing it in reality, troubleshooting the problems. I was really enjoying it. But my friend, his name is Mehmed, he was insisting that to join him. So he reached to a level that he said, okay, don't apply for Saudi electricity company, but at least join me, let's go to Riyadh. I told him, okay, let's try something else. Why we don't call Saudi electricity company in Riyadh and we send our CVs to them and see. And I invited him to my office. We pick up the phone and we call them. I talked to them myself. And we told them, we heard that you guys have a job opportunities and we are interested. He said, okay, you can come over. We told him, give us an email or something that we can send you our documentation and CVs and transcript. And they said, no, we don't have this. You need to come here in person and apply for the job. Then in this case, I had no escape from my friend to go to Riyadh. So I went with him. We went to Riyadh and we went to the recruitment office. And the guy in the window, he said, we don't have forms to fill. So we run out of forms. You come later on. I got really upset. Then I went to the recruitment manager and I told him we came all the way from Al-Dhahran and we have called before we come and your guys insisted for us to come and now he's telling us they don't have forms. He said, what is your qualification? We told him we are engineers from KFPN. He welcomed us and we sit in his office and he called the same guy who told us we run out of forms. And I told him, those guys, they are engineers. Even if you don't have a form, you go and find out a form and you bring it to them. He really respected us a lot. And the guy, he bring a form. He had the forms, but I don't know why he was telling us he ran out of forms. So we thanked this guy, the recruitment manager, and we filled the forms in his office. And my colleague, Mohammed, his major was a chemical engineer, and I was a mechanical engineer. And as I told you, I was enjoying in the job that I was in, and I was not really interested much in Saudi electricity company. Then my friend, he asked him, when you guys will give us a feedback? And then the guy, he was a bit shy to tell him that we are not interested in a chemical engineers. He told him, for your friend's case, we will answer him in a couple of days' time. But for your case, I am not sure, because really I'm not sure the need for a chemical engineer in Saudi electricity company. And really, by the time I reached back to my office in Khobar, they called me back and they give me an offer. And unfortunately, they did not give an offer to my friend, the guy who was the reason for me to go there. Then really, I was not planning to move to Riyadh. So I start bargaining with them. I said, I will not be able to come until at least 3 months, because I have a lot of things in my hand and I need to hand over my previous current job before I move to you. And in reality, I was trying to find something else within the Eastern Province. I didn't want to go to Riyadh. But it seems نصيبي كان إني to move to Riyadh. So after the 3 months, I couldn't find something suitable in Eastern Province. Then I resigned from Bechtel, and maybe many of you will be wondering, if you were that much happy in Bechtel, why did you move out? But I was thinking wisely that what is in the long run my future in a foreigner company, which is all their business is based on projects. So if there is no project, many of those Western engineers, they came from other Bechtel offices around the world. So they will just go back to their offices. But for me, the future was not really clear. So I made up my mind that after the 2 years, I need to move out to one of the local companies. So I made my decision to move to Saudi electricity company in Riyadh. And
طيب استاذ سعيد،
تفضل يا رامز.
قبل لا نكمل القصه بس في محور من محاور حديثنا اللي هو هل يستفاد مما يتعلم الطالب خلال المرحله الجامعيه؟ اعتقد انك جاوبت عليه بوضوح. يعني يبدو لي انك مريت على كل المواد اصلا اللي بتدرسها. يعني جميع المواد. Heat
transfer, fluid mechanics, structure mechanics, vibration, you name it. But this was when I was in Bechtel in the engineering company. The other part of the story is different nature of job. When you come to Saudi electricity company, when you come to Sabiq, when you come to Aramco, it's different ball game, totally different ball game. So
طيب المهارات المطلوبة في سوق العمل حاليا، والمهارات يعني اللي احتجتها في الشركة الأولى أو حتى الثانية، ما هي المهارات المطلوبة في سوق العمل حاليا؟
ممتاز. طبعا without doubt, whatever you are studying now as a mechanical engineer, you're going to need it down the road. But in what percentage? It depends on where you are, in which field you are working. And even if you don't use that thing that you have learned as a mechanical engineer directly, you will use it indirectly. I remember that I was sent by one of the companies that I worked in it in a course about finance, which is totally different area than engineering. When I came to that course, there was other individuals who is their bachelor degree was they were accountant, and some of them they have a master in accounting. And for me, I was just a mechanical engineer. And our instructor, he was an Egyptian doctor, and he was a finance guy as well. So part of the course was they will give you homeworks and exercises to do and things to resolve. I was resolving it, and I was solving it differently from the way that those guys are doing it. And I used to get the right answer. So the instructor, he was telling the other guys, because I was doing it faster than them and I was getting the right answer. Then this instructor, he said, I'm not surprised to see this from an engineer. He said, we opened one time a program, a finance for non-finance people. And we used to have a lot of engineers that coming in and participating in this program. And they were always beating the guys who was specialized in accounting and management. So this is the way that the engineers' minds is being structured. So as a short answer for your question, Ramiz, all the capabilities that you are learning now as a mechanical engineer, you're gonna need it down the road, but in a different percentage based on where you are.
تمام واضح. طيب استاذ سعيد، في محور من محاورنا اللي هي اين يعمل المهندس الميكانيكي، تقدر توضح لنا اللي هي المسميات البايب لاين انجينير وغيرها؟
اوكي.
اذا ممكن. ايه.
طيب as a mechanical engineer يعني الميكانيكال engineer, I think it is the widest major. You could find a place for you in any organization, especially if it is in the industry or related to the industry. As I told you, in Bechtel engineering, I think I have told you enough about it. And the mechanical engineers, they were playing a major role in there. In Saudi Electricity Company, even though it's called Electricity Company, I used to be working in a power plant, which is many of you have traveled from Riyadh to Eastern Province. It is in the last checkpoint when you are leaving Riyadh, you will find a huge power plant to your right hand. That is PP9, which is for short power plant number 9. When I joined Skiko at that time, that plant was not there. It was just a desert. So when I came, this was in 1999, it was purely desert, and I participated from ground zero all the way to a full production power plant. And it was, by the way, combined cycle power plant. That means they have a gas turbines and they have steam turbines as well. I don't know the level of the audience, but there was a course in the mechanical engineering called thermal power plants. I don't know if you guys have taken that course. So even though it is a power plant, electrical generating power plant, we were, as a mechanical engineer, higher number than the electrical engineers. And our role was more major than the electrical engineers. Because basically all of those gas turbine, all of those steam turbine, all of those boilers, they were basically a mechanical stuff. So the answer is, in the engineering companies, you have a major role. In power plants, you have a major role. In refineries, you have a major role. In a petrochemical industry, you have a major role. In the aviation, you have a major role. And even in hospitals. I remember that I get an offer from King Faisal Specialized Hospital in Riyadh. Because they
ممكن معلش ايش ممكن يكون دور المهندس الميكانيكي في المستشفيات يعني؟
I'll tell you. In the hospital, like King Faisal Specialized Hospital, they have a huge maintenance department, because in a hospital you need a reliable power source. So they are connected to the grid, yes, but you always need a backup generators. You need a backup for the air that they are using in the rooms, for the operation rooms and those things. So maintenance is a very, very important department in the hospitals. Without having the right utilities. They call it utilities. You need air, you need electricity, you need. So somebody in the maintenance department need to take care of all of those things, in addition to the buildings and the cooling system and all of those things. So even in a hospital, a mechanical engineer is needed. What else? I remember colleagues of mine working in insurance companies, because insurance, sometimes they do an insurance in an industrial facilities. So you need an engineer who knows this and can anticipate what kind of risk will be in there, so he can evaluate how much would be the premium value that this organization need to pay. So in short, mechanical engineer is widely needed in many fields.
طيب يعطيك العافية. طيب بخصوص في يعني سؤال متكرر وأيضا هو محور من محاورنا اليوم، اللي هو كيف أطور نفسي أنا كمهندس ميكانيكي، أو حتى أنا كطالب الآن حاليا لسه ما تخرج، كيف ممكن أطور نفسي في الهندسة الميكانيكية وبعد التخرج أيضا، سواء قبل الوظيفة أو بعدها، كيف ممكن أطور من نفسي كمهندس ميكانيكي عشان أستغل الفرص في سوق العمل.
ممتاز. طيب is the chat box open with you, رامز؟
الشات بوكس هي المفروض انها مقفله.
انا ودي صراحه again I want the things to be more of a casual thing.
نقدر نفتح الشات ما هي مشكله.
يعني اساس بس I want to connect with the audience. And this time that I'm sparing, I would like really to add a value to every individual who's in the room. Maybe it's good to see what the guys want, and from there we can navigate.
طيب هو اوريدي جاتنا يعني اسئله كثير جدا موجود محضرين اسئله، لكن فتحنا الشات، شوف اذا ممكن الشباب يرسلوا.
لاني انا ودي انا اجاوب على سؤالك لانه مهم جدا صراحه. انت your question was what is the skills that a mechanical engineer should work on it to have a better opportunity down the road in his career. I would say aside from your engineering skills that you will be learning, there is a very important skill that you need to master, which is a communication skill. If you are the best engineer, but you don't have the right communication, believe me, you will not be reaching anywhere. So if there is one takeaway message that I will tell the audience in this meeting is emphasizing in the importance of communication. You will not be working alone. You'll be working with colleagues. You'll be working with superior. You'll be working with subordinate. Your communication is a key skill that I advise every one of you. Don't leave without really sharpening that skill. Okay. Now, I don't want just to give you an advice without the how piece. How can I improve my communication skill? I'm not seeing the chat around this, but if you could put the question is, how many of you are aware of the Toastmasters?
طيب
I think the guys, they can hear me, so if they can just put yes or no.
اي اسمعوا. ممكن تعيد السؤال مرة ثانية.
السؤال the question is are you aware of the Toastmaster clubs? Do you know what is the Toastmaster?
والله النصف يقول يس والنصف يقول نو.
اوكي. من اللي اكثر اليس ولا النو؟
لا شكلها اليس. يس.
Good. So my advice is, if you are not a member in a Toastmaster, join it tomorrow. And I know there are a lot. I know there is a lot of Toastmaster clubs in the Dhahran region, in Jubail, and You just need to search for it and you'll find it. Basically, for those of you who doesn't know what's the Toastmaster, it's a structured program that it will take you from ground zero all the way to a master speaker. You can speak in public and you can communicate well. And it have two paths. They have a communication path and they have a leadership path. So the communication path, it takes you from level 1 to level 10. So level 1 is a beginner level where you need to make your first speech, which is, they call it icebreaker. And they are structured in a certain way where you have a committee will be evaluating your speech. You will be having somebody who will be counting how many times you will be trembling in the words and how many times you will say and they will give you a result at the end. And you will see how you are improving from level 1 to level 10 if you make it all the way to level 10. And the leadership program also sharpening your leadership skill. I know many engineers in my 24 years of experience, they were an excellent engineers, but they were not good in this communication part. So a $1 million question is, what would be a single skill that you'll be advising me? Without hesitating, I will be telling you your communication skill is a very important thing. No matter where you will be working, be sure that you will be needing that skill. So my advice to all the audience in the room, work on that if you are not already in there.
وحسب علمي انه موجود في نادي في الجامعه.
I'm sure it is around you guys. You just need to
موجود.
Yeah. Okay.
طيب.
So that's one skill which is aside from what you're going to learn beside the heat transfer and thermodynamics and all of those heavy courses. Another thing that I would advise you guys is the certification, international certifications. For you as a mechanical engineer, good, you are a mechanical engineer, but if you enforce your bachelor degree with an international certificate, that will add a lot of value for you in the market. So when you come, for example, in the industry like Aramco and Sabic, there is a very wide field called inspection. Inspection engineers, they are very important engineers in those organizations. The inspection engineer, he is the guy who is, the maintenance engineer will come and do the maintenance activity. The inspection engineer will come and validate that repair that took place and will give it the green light to proceed, and you can go ahead and start the machine, or no, you cannot. So if you are a mechanical engineer and you did a welding activity, you cannot go ahead and start the machine without a green light from an inspection engineer. So for you to be a good inspection engineer, there is a lot of international certificate you need to have. So for example, if you are a piping engineer, you need to have an API, which is the American Petroleum Institute. And there is a code especially for piping. There is another code for tanks. There is another code for, they call it the methodologies, the risk-based inspection, they call it the RBI. So if you qualify yourself with those international certificates, you will give yourself a big boost to have a better chance of finding the right job. So if you are qualified mechanical engineer with a bachelor degree, you have a good communication skill, you are equipped with the international certificates. API is just an example, ASME is another one. There is, and it's not new, it's a very old trend called the reliability. Reliability is again a very big arena. And there is a lot of international certificate. There is a certificate called certified reliability engineer. There is another one called certified reliability CRM, certified reliability manager. So it gives you what is the reliability, what is it about? Because at the end of the day, you need to run a plant, you have a certain equipment, you need to ensure that that equipment is reliable, you need to ensure that equipment is available when it is needed. You need to go and study that system and anticipate anything that could go wrong. Okay, you say, all right, how about if this pump failed? What shall we do? So you will there will be a team around the table, huh? And it's not only a maintenance engineer. You will need a process engineer. You will need electrical engineer. You will need a control system engineer. You will need inspection engineer. So all of you around the table will be putting one system, let's say the cooling water system. Then you say, okay, this is our cooling water system. How many pumps we have? What is the design of it? Is it one pump running, one pump standby? Okay, so if the running pump failed, then the standby one should kick in automatically. All right, how about if it didn't kick in? What shall we do? We have a huge equipment which is running in a very high RPM. And there is a lubrication going into those equipments. How about if we lost the power supply? Then we will be losing the lube oil pump, which is feeding the lube to those huge equipment. And when I say huge equipment, I'm talking about a couple of stories building. يعني نتكلم عن مبنى يمكن دورين أو ثلاثة فيه a huge compressor. So in the case of a power failure coming from ski crew, then you need to bring this machine down without damaging the machine. So in this case, you will be having a standby, and if it's not there, you need to say, okay, we need to have a standby lube oil pump that is not fed only from the main power supply. It needs to be fed from another source. In the industry, they call it UPS, standing for uninterrupted power supply. That UPS is being fed from a battery room. So even if there is a blackout and there is no electricity, still you will be able to bring down your machine safely without damaging the machine. So when you go to the arena of reliability, you will be opening boxes for all of those things. And it is a very detailed field that I don't want to, if we open that subject, 1 hour is not enough, maybe one night is not enough. So going back to your question, as other skills that you guys need to make an emphasis on it, I will be recapping communication, that's one thing. International certificates is another thing. And I would emphasize on the API certificates and the reliability related certificates for you as a mechanical engineer. This would be my advice to you.
طيب أستاذ سعيد.
Yes.
في سؤال متكرر كثير يعني بصراحة اللي هو موضوع المعدل.
Okay.
في سؤال، هل المعدل هو أساس التوظيف أم المقابلة الشخصية؟ يعني في حال كان معدلي سيء هل ممكن أنحرم من أشياء كثير؟
ممتاز. طيب, and I will share with you my experience. I have made a lot of interviews. And المعدل is important, but it's not everything. Huh? When I receive a CV, what I see in the CV for a fresh graduate, there's nothing much about experience. Huh? So one of the key player is your GPA, but the GPA is not everything. When it comes to the interview, and I remember in many interviews, I have interviewed individuals with a very high GPA, but at the end of, I remember one day we came to the career day in KFUPM, and we spent the whole day from the morning until maybe 5 p.m. And we have met a lot of people. Huh? We have taken a lot of the guys who were having a high GPA, and also many of them we did not take. because really GPA is not everything, especially in the work. Huh? Especially with the guys with a very high GPA. For me as an employer, I don't guarantee that this guy will continue with me. Mainly they continue for a higher education, they go for R&D, research and development firms. But for me as somebody who is in operation and maintenance, I would like to have somebody who will continue with me. I don't want somebody spending with me 3 years, 4 years, and he have a good GPA. He easily can find, he can jump to any other organization easily. So as an answer, GPA is important, but it's not everything that we are evaluating when we are choosing the candidate for a job.
والله استاذ سعيد جوابك راح يسعد ناس كثير صراحه.
Good.
طيب بخصوص الدورات تلعب دور كبير مثل الجي بي اي، دورات الهندسه الميكانيكيه تحديدا.
والله شوف سمبلي الان لما تجيني انا 2 سي في، واحد ما اخذ ولا دوره، واحد ما اخذ so many courses. It tells me something. It tells me that this guy is working hard, and that by itself is a big plus for me. Let me tell you a story, and it was in KFUPM in that career day. Huh? One of the guys that I interviewed, he was unfortunately he was not KFUPM graduate, he was US graduate, and believe me, I took that guy, I hired that guy, but not because of his GPA. Huh? The guy, he was very active socially. He was helping the new students who used to come to the US, who's just the Saudi student who just came in. They don't know anything, they don't know where to go, they don't know. So he was voluntarily working as a voluntary student, helping others. And believe me, that was my key driver from my decision to accept that individual. And he's still working with us in SABIC. And I was not wrong. The guy, he was very active. Whenever we give him an assignment, he used to do it ahead of time. He used to do it, even though his GPA was not that high. He was an average student. But in the work field, he really demonstrated high capability. So as an answer for your question, having so many training courses in your CV definitely will make you different from the guys who doesn't.
ايوه واضح. طيب في سؤال عن الشهادات العليا، هل لها أهمية في سوق العمل الماجستير والدكتوراه سواء العادي أو المهني؟ يعني حاليا في ماجستير مهني مثل اللي تقدم الجامعة، وهل شخصيا سمعت أو رأيت أي فرق بين صاحب البكالوريوس وغيره في سوق العمل؟ هذا سؤال شخص.
Okay. Well, I would say, and again, this is my personal opinion. The education is always important. The higher you could go for it. And my advice is, if you have in your mind that, or you would like to continue your higher education, don't take a break in between. Once you finish your BS, continue your master. Because if you stop, it's very difficult to resume again. Huh? Maybe if you are going for business administration, it would be good that you have worked and you have a work experience. Then it would be much better than a guy who does not have any work experience. But that's only for business administration. But if you're going to continue your master in your engineering field, then don't break in the middle. Because if you break, you will enjoy the working style and the high salary that you will be getting, and it will be very difficult to go back to the student church. So I'm very open and frank with you guys. So as a short answer, I'm definitely with getting higher education. But don't stop in the middle, huh? Just carry on. If you have this on your mind, just go ahead and take your chances, unless you have a job waiting for you immediately after your graduation.
طيب أستاذ سعيد، نسمع يعني أخبار كل فترة إنه البعض يكون معاه شهادة الماستر ولا الدكتوراه ويقدم على وظيفة، يعني غير وظيفة دكتور في جامعة، يقدم على وظيفة في شركة معينة يحطوا أوفر كواليفايد، يقول أنت أوفر كواليفايد. هل مر عليك هذا الشيء قبل كذا؟
طيب.
شخص معاه شهادة ماستر أو دكتوراه؟
طيب, I'll tell you a true story. We have interviewed one guy who have a master degree in mechanical engineering, and he was instructor in Jebel Industrial College. Okay. So the guy, he applied for us. I was in Sabiq at that time, and he applied for a job as an engineer in Sabiq. Our general manager, our maintenance general manager, he was the chairman of the committee who was in the interview. And the guy, he was really very qualified. He has a master's degree. He's instructor in the Jebel Industrial College, but he has zero experience. So our GM, he told him, GM, I mean general manager, huh? He told him, okay, I can hire you, but I will hire you as a fresh graduate. And in the recruitment system, you will be getting some incentives because you have a master's degree. But I will not be considering your years of being instructor. So the guy, I think he was instructor for 5 years or something. So the only thing was, those 5 years will not be counted for you as experience. We will be hiring you, but you will be hired as a fresh engineer. You will be getting more than the guy who having only a BS. But we will not be counting, because when you are giving the offer, you normally give a certain percentage for every year of experience that individual is having. And when I say experience, I don't mean any experience. Let's say you came and you apply for a maintenance job, and you have an experience of 10 years, but it is not related to maintenance. You were a sales engineer, for example. I have the right to say those 5 years that you spent as a sales engineer, I will not consider it in the payment. Okay, I'll hire you, but those experience will not be counted when it comes to the offer. Is it clear, Rams?
Yeah, so clear. طيب في سؤال هنا، ما هي العوامل التي تركزون عليها في شخصية الشخص خلال المقابلات الوظيفية؟ وما هي التصرفات المتوقعة من الشخص؟ وإذا سئل سؤال لم يعرف جوابه، فهل تفضلون إجابة لا أدري حتى إذا تكررت كثيرا، أم تفضلون أن يسدد ويقارن؟
طيب.
واضح السؤال؟
Yeah, in the interview, be aware that the committee sitting in front of you, they are not dumb, huh? They can see, huh? So if you don't know the answer and you try to fake that you know the answer, believe me, they will know. So my advice is, the best answer if you don't know is to say I don't know. There's a lot of incidents happen in the interviews. I remember, and again, the attitude is very important. Huh? I remember that we were doing a lot of interviews, and there was a lot of guys piled up outside the interview room. And then the head of the committee, he went out, I think for a coffee or something. Then he went back and he found one of the guys who was in the waiting, making noise and saying that, well, my timing was to have the interview at 10 o'clock and now it is already 11 o'clock. Why you guys didn't allow me in? then this head of the committee, this guy, he doesn't know that he's the head of the committee. This guy started talking to him, and he told him, what is the issue? Why all this noise? And he said, those guys, they are not respecting my time. And he started complaining. Huh? Then he asked one of the other guys, he told him from where you came. And this guy, he was from Jubail itself. He didn't travel from somewhere else. Then he asked one of the other guys from where you came, and he came from maybe 1,000 kilometers away. And he said, what was the time that we have given to you? He said, 9 o'clock. He said, why you didn't complain like this other guy? He's saying, actually, I took the whole day off for this interview, so I will just wait for my turn. So this, the head of the interview committee, he told this guy, you can just go home. You have no interview with us. So this is just telling you that a simple bad attitude could take you off the record. Huh? So it's not always about what you know. Huh? There is a lot of other factors that decide things. Huh? Even being honest and saying that I don't know that thing is good enough. And I remember one guy, I asked him, he's a mechanical engineer, and he just graduated. But thanks God, he was not KVPM graduate. He was one of the US graduates. I told him, what is the basic components of a gas turbine? Just give me the main components of a gas turbine. And he told me, actually, we took it in a course maybe a couple of years back, and I don't recall. And come on, you're a mechanical engineer. How come you don't know? I'm not asking you what is the thermodynamics of a gas turbine. I'm just telling you the components. That's a very basic question. So sometimes, and normally the interview committee, they consider those things. Sometimes the guy is still young. He just, maybe he's nervous because of the interview. We do understand those things. So it happens.
طيب سؤال ثاني موجود. اختبار ال FE exam، ما أهمية اختبار أساسيات الهندسة في الوقت الراهن؟ وهل سيكون متطلب أساسي للتوظيف مستقبلا؟ FE exam.
What's the name of the exam?
FE. Fundamental.
Honestly, I'm not aware of it. I don't recall we asked for it in any of the interviews that we have conducted.
اللي هو fundamental engineering exam.
I'm not aware of it.
تمام. طيب. ناخذ كمان كم سؤال. طيب في سؤال هنا. Can you give me an advice about which mechanical courses are important for the current time? Pumping, machinery, mechanical vibration، اللي هي الكورسات elective courses، الكورسات الاختيارية. إيه. إيش الكورسات اللي ممكن تفيد الطلاب تكون كورس يعني اختياري؟
Pumping machinery, I think, I took pumping machinery. It's a very important course. Vibration is a very important course. I don't know what is the electives now in your time, guys, but in our time, there was a course called optimization. There's no specific course that I can name you. It is the only one that is important, but I think the fluid mechanics, I think it's a mandatory course, right?
إيه صحيح.
Yeah, the pumping machinery would be one recommended plus the vibration.
طيب أستاذ سعيد، عندك أتوقع على فترتكم برضو لما كنت في الجامعة كان في اللي هي تخصص الساينس والابلاي كان موجود وقتها؟
صحيح.
إيه طيب. البعض هنا يسأل هل الابلاي مثلا اللي يطبق كواب 7 شهور له ميزة عن الساينس اللي يطبق شهرين سامر تريننج، ولا ما في فرق؟ من ناحيه يعني افضليه التوظيف؟
No.
ما في.
أنا شخصيا مثلا أنا في سكيكو، في أرامكو، في سابق. Maybe I would prefer an applied guy, but that does not make any privileges if I found somebody who's a science. That does not put him down. لكن applied, at least he spent already 7 months in the industry and he knows more than the guy who spent it only 2 months as a summer. Just only for that, but otherwise there's no big difference. And nobody really is looking into those, that I will hire this guy because he's a science, or I will hire this guy because he's applied. I don't think that's a factor.
طيب معلش، بس الشباب اللي ترى بتسألوا في الشات في لينك معين للأسئلة، يعني ما بناخذ احنا الأسئلة من الشات، ناخذها من اللينك. طيب أنا برجع أرسل اللينك الآن.
أشوف شهادة إدارة المشاريع. This one also is very important, especially if you go to the field of the projects. يعني في إدارات متخصصة مشاريع. So if you are planning to join one of those departments, then yes, PMP is very important certificate.
طيب في واحد هنا يقول سؤال مهم جدا أتمنى جوابه. هل ماستر الطاقة المتجددة ممكن إنه يوصلك لمستوى عالي بالشركة مطلوب عندنا؟ ماستر Renewable Energy، طاقة متجددة.
Master in Renewable Energy, right?
إيه.
شوف أصلاً موضوع ال Renewable Energy هذا it's a new trend and it is highly demanded. Definitely yes, it is needed in the market.
طيب عندك وقت كمان ناخذ أسئلة؟
Well, I am yours guys until you.
طيب.
يعني this is the least obligation that I could do for KFP. طيب رامز انت you are now.
طيب ايوه معلش. طيب سؤال هنا كمان، إذا تفضل نصائح وتوصيات أهل الخبرة هي طريق سريع وكنز لأمثالنا في بداية الطريق، إيش تعطينا نصيحة أو توصية من خبرة تتمنى لو عرفتها وأنت في مكاننا اليوم؟
طيب could you repeat the question again?
طيب يبغى نصيحة أو توصية تتمنى لو أنك عرفتها وأنت في يعني طالب مثلنا الآن.
Okay. Good. يعني لو الأيام تعود ماذا كنت ستفعل ها؟
إيه بالضبط.
والله أنا personally I like the mechanical engineering. And by the way, I spent 1 semester in the chemical engineering and I ran away. I didn't like it at all. A lot of chemistry, a lot of organic, and I found myself in the mechanical. So if I'm back again as a student, I will again go for mechanical engineering. But I will be considering the advice I have given you in the beginning of this session, which is the communication skill. You remember that in the first week I had a clash with my boss. That was a communication skill issue. Huh? So if I will go back, I will pay a lot of attention to the communication skill because really it will make a difference in your career to make it up the ladder or you stay as you are. I know a lot of guys. I am now 24 years of experience. They are also 24 years of experience, but they are still an engineer. They didn't go up the ladder as a management. And the only difference is your communication skill and your leadership skill. So in parallel with you focusing in your major courses, in your free time, give attention to those other soft skills. Communication, leadership. These are a key differentiator between you and your colleagues.
طيب أستاذ undergraduate research, do you recommend it or what do you think?
Undergraduate research, you mean a scientific research?
هي في الجامعة مثلا في مركز للبحوث في الجامعة ممكن الطلاب يشاركوا فيه.
Let me tell you, and here I'm quoting, this is not my own word. في دكتور عندكم في الجامعة الآن اسمه دكتور الشبل. I don't know if you know him guys.
إيه معروف.
الدكتور الشبل, I don't know how much you know about his. The guy he graduated as an engineer.
إيه صح.
ما له أي علاقة بالماركتينج. And he started his career in Aramco. Then he loved the marketing and he moved out from the engineering and he is now دكتور جامعة بترول يدرس marketing. يعني what you study is not always. You don't guarantee that you'll continue on that path. Huh? So whatever soft skill you can learn in your way, you never know when you will need it. Huh?
طيب ممكن نختم كمان بسؤال أخير.
تفضل.
في سؤال هنا، إيش أهم البرامج اللي أفادتك شخصياً كميكانيكي غير برامج التصميم؟
غير برامج إيش؟
إيه غير برامج التصميم اللي هي الأوتوكاد والسوليد ووركس. برامج أفادتك.
سوفت ويرز يعني يمين.
إيه ممكن قصة سوفت ويرز.
والله إحنا at our time there was no much softwares. كان فورتران والفورتران ظهر إنه انقرض الآن. Nobody is still using it. لكن
ممكن زي الإكسل مثلاً يعني.
لا شوف طبعاً شباب يعني now at this stage of life الإكسل والباوربوينتس والمايكروسوفت أوفيس باكج هذه it goes without saying. Huh? If you don't know how to use that then you have a problem. Huh? هذه ما هي it goes without saying. Huh? يعني presentation skill also is very important. Huh? You could be the best engineer, huh? But if you don't know how to present what's in your mind, then bad luck. You're not going to move from there. And let me share with you an interview that I did maybe last month only. Huh? I had a vacant position in Europe for somebody, and the guy who was filling that position, he retired, and we were looking for somebody to replace him. The final say, يعني صارت المفاضلة بين شخصين. One German guy, he was طبعا احنا سابق أنا قاعد أتكلم as a global organization. احنا عندنا مصانع في يوروب، عندنا مصانع في أمريكا، عندنا مصانع في إيشيا. عادة it's normal يعني إنه يكون الموظفين اللي في يوروب to be European. ف يعني we interviewed many guys. الفاينل رسينا على اثنين. One Spanish guy and one German guy. The German guy was technically very strong. Okay. لكن البوزيشن كان يحتاج ليس فقط engineering experience، لأنه هو كان بيكون ممثل للتكنيكال سبورت ليوروب. ففي هذه أنت تحتاج عندنا 5 مصانع في أوروبا. فالشخص اللي بيكون هناك يحتاج إنه يكون على اتصال مع ال5 المصانع. إذا عندهم مشاكل هو القناة اللي راح يتصلون فيها. He need to have a good relation with all the 5 plants we are having there. You need to have a good communication skill. Your role there is not, even though he's a mechanical engineer with maybe 30 years plus experience, but his role at that position مو مطلوب منه إنه هو يحل المشاكل الفنية اللي تجي. مطلوب منه إنه يفهم إيش المشكلة as an engineer. Then he communicate back to us here in Jubail and say عندنا مشكلة فلانية في المصنع الفلاني ونحتاج مثلا a material engineer or we need a corrosion engineer. Then he connect مع corrosion engineer اللي موجود في الجبال. يعني فالموضوع يحتاج لها a lot of coordination. It needs a lot of communication. The other Spanish guy, he was not as strong as this German guy, but he have much better communication. I asked this German guy, من هو رئيس المصنع الفلاني في Europe? He doesn't know him. Who is the technical lead on that particular plant? He doesn't know him. For somebody who was for 30 years there and he doesn't know المصنع اللي جنب مصنعهم, هذا he does not fit for that job. Maybe if the job was something else, maybe I was looking for an experienced maintenance engineer. Maybe I would have picked the German guy, not the Spanish guy, because he was technically very sound. But it's always depend on what is the post اللي معروض, ايش ال skill set اللي required for that post. But there is no a magic skill that you can say if you have this. The only magic skill is your communication, that you will be needing it wherever you go. I hope this makes it clear, شباب.
والله أستاذ سعيد ودنا اللقاء ما يخلص صراحة.
أبد
يعني أنا شخصيا استفدت كثير، متأكد الشباب استفادوا كثير. حتى رئيس النادي هنا استفاد، يعني يقول لي استفدت كثير والله. فيعطيك العافية.
أبد حاضرين.
وشكرا لك مرة ثانية، شرفتنا اليوم ونورتنا في اللقاء.
Good. I hope I يعني أفدتكم ولو بشيء قليل.
شيء كثير جدا صراحة.
اسمحوا لنا إذا صار قصور وأنا صراحة أنا كان ودي إنه face to face it will be more friendly, more casual. لكن now with COVID we get used to those working from home and meeting from a distance. So inshallah in the next times it will be face to face, and we will be privileged to meet every individual of you guys.
إن شاء الله كون يعني السمستر الجاي ممكن نشوف نقابلك فيس تو فيس.
أبد.
وقت ما تسمح الفرصة إن شاء الله. ما تقصر أستاذ سعيد.
أبد. الله يحييك.
عندك أي إضافة شيء؟
Just a final say, gentlemen. Always they say, plan for the best and be prepared for the worst. Huh? It's a short word, but I hope you understand what I mean. Huh? So if you graduate and you stay there for 6 months or so, it's fine. It happens. Huh? We have been all through this. Huh? So utilize your time wisely and always continue building your skills. And the opportunities is always there. Don't raise your bar very high. Start with whatever you have, and with the time you can grow up. Maybe we were being interrupted على جزئية الoperation and maintenance organizations. يعني هنا في السعودية يعني mainly الشركات الكبيرة أرامكو، سابكس، كيكو. They are not engineering companies. Huh? Somebody else is doing the engineering. He's designing the plant. He's designing the facility. He's building it, and he's handing it over to you guys to operate and maintain. السواد الأعظم من الناس اللي راح يشتغلون في هذه النوعية من organizations. So as a mechanical engineer, you will end up either as an operation or as a maintenance, or يعني يمكن مهم انكم تعرفون الستراكشر حق الشركات الكبيره هذه. في شيء اسمه مينتنس، في شيء اسمه اوبريشن، وفي شيء اسمه تكنيكال. الفريش جراجويت عاده يبدون، اذا كنت مثلا كيميكال ممكن تبدا في الاوبريشن، اذا انت ميكانيكال نورمالي تبدا في المينتنس، تنزل في الفيلد يعني you do troubleshooting, you open the equipment, you do your repair activities and all of those things. Down the road ممكن a message for you. يعني أكثر الناس ترى especially the Saudi engineers فيه مسارين لما تدخل سابق أرامكو كيكو، في مسار تكنيكال وفي مسار مانجمنت. التكنيكال باث أو المسار الفني، شخص واحد يعني مهتم في الانجينيرينج and he want to grow in engineering, so you will grow from a fresh engineer all the way to a chief engineer. راح تحصل على benefits. يمكن تكون chief engineer ما عندك أي لقب إداري، ما أنت مدير إدارة، ما أنت manager، ما أنت superintendent، ما أنت general manager، لكن you are getting يعني equal payments like high ranking management role. فأنت لازم تحدد ميولك من الآن، هل أنت تبغى technical path ولا تبغى management path، وتشتغل على نفسك بناء على أنت وين تبغى توصل. إذا أنت تبغى توصل management then you need to focus على management skill. If you want to focus على technical path then you need to sharpen your technical skill. ويأتي على رأس ذا اللي هو your higher education. يعني الآن الأورجنايزيشن اللي أنا فيها الآن يعني أقدر أقول لك أن 80% من اللي موجودين معنا في in this organization they are PhD holder. يعني تلاقي واحد PhD holder mechanical engineering، PhD holder electrical engineering، وهذولا we call them the big guns. يعني هذولا ما يدخلون في شغلة إلا هي شغلة كايدة وشغلة nobody could solve it. وعددهم محدود. فلو تشوف يعني هي زي الهرم، شفت الهرم، قاعدة الهرم كبيرة جدا، يكون فيها a lot of engineers in the base of the pyramid. Those guys they are on the top of the pyramid. Their number is less, but their qualification and experience is very high. فالآن أنا from my position I'm supposed to provide the technical support for all SABIC globally، سواء المصنع في الصين أو في أمريكا أو في أوروبا أو في الجبال أو في يمن. When it comes to us حنا we evaluate حجم المشكلة. إذا المشكلة بسيطة we don't bother those guys. So we keep them for the very complex issues where it requires a lot of studies, a lot of analysis, and there is a demand for both sides. If you want to go in the technical field and if you want to go into the management, there is always an opportunity. That's all, gentlemen, and I think it's already 9:29. I think we're reaching to the end of our session. يعطيكم ألف عافية وأبد حاضرين في أي شيء تبونه.
الله يعافيك وشكرا لك وشكرا للحضور. إن شاء الله إنه كان اللقاء سلس.
Good.
طيب يعطيكم العافية.
بس على خير يا شباب. السلام عليكم.
اللي يسأل شباب في تسجيل السيشن، اي نعم بيكون في تسجيل، وبيكون يعني على التليجرام حق قناة النادي، ننشر هناك، بنرفع على درايف ان شاء الله تقدروا تشوفوه من هناك. واللي ما قيم شباب بالله قيمه، في الرابط ارسلناه. طيب بخصوص اللي يسأل عن رابط القناة، قناة التليجرام، نرسلها كمان هنا، انتظر معنا ونرسلها.